So I just watched Kelten Vieira versus Miesha Tate for 5 rounds at 2 AM UK time, and I think I'm having a mental breakdown. 5 rounds of absolute war, back and forth. Wow, the epitome of mixed martial arts. Really on display for yet another women's main event. I love so much that UFC decides to put these women's bouts for 5 rounds at the very end of a card, because they always finish with a bang. It's always an amazing bout when 2 women's MMA athletes go at it in a main event. I'm so glad we got 2 extra rounds of that. Kelten Vieira was the winner, of course. She won this fight very clearly, in my opinion. Now, the rounds were close, and some people on Twitter actually had it 3-1 Miesha Tate, but I don't understand that in the slightest whatsoever. However, according to the stats, Miesha Tate actually did outland Kelten Vieira in 3 of the 5 rounds. However, I do believe that Kelten Vieira's shots were far more significant. They were doing a lot more damage, and they were rocking Miesha Tate in certain moments as well. And in the clinch, Kelten Vieira was a lot busier with body shots in the clinch, and Miesha Tate just literally looked like someone with a mental illness out there. Now, I understand she's one of the best women's fighters in the world, but who taught her to stand like this? With her hands out by her side, like a clown, and, who taught her to do that? Miesha Tate has a gym that she trains at, okay? That gym has a coach, and that coach holds pads for her, and that coach, whilst holding pads for her, has said, of course, that looks good, Miesha Tate, keep it up. While she does this around the octagon like she's about to start a fucking magic trick. I don't understand why we must sit through 5 fucking rounds at 2 AM. It's 2 AM. This could be 5 AM. The card started early because McKinney versus Ziam was off the card as well, so it started even earlier. This could have been at 5 AM. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't even that bad of a fight for a women's MMA bout, but it's more to do with not so much the activity, it's more to do with the absolutely appalling and shocking and absolute shit technique that's constantly on display in every single one of these women's main events. We had Norma Dumont versus Aspen Ladd. There was another women's main event, was actually not too bad. Marina Rodriguez versus Mackenzie Dern. Just keep it to the strawweights, please. Can we establish that from now on? Let's keep these women's 5-round main events to the strawweight division. They give us Joanna and Jacek versus Weili Zhang for 5 rounds. That was amazing. Joanna and Jacek versus Rose Namajunas for 5 rounds was amazing. These weren't even main events. Let's keep it strawweight if we're going to do 5-round women's MMA fights, because I don't think I can sit there with a straight face anymore and actually give serious commentary. I was just singing and doing silly voices the entire time while I was supposed to be commentating, because the technique on display is rather retarded. Now, Miesha Tate was crawling on her feet, in a way, towards Kelten Vieira the entire fight long, and she would throw this 1-2 that was just never really working. Sometimes it would work, and sometimes some other stuff would work, like a leg kick that she would throw. But other than that, she would drunkenly throw a 1-2 at Kelten Vieira, and that would be kind of done for. Now, according to the stats, apparently Miesha Tate can kind of win rounds 3, 4, and 5. However, I do believe that Kelten Vieira won round 3, in my opinion. I guess she can win round 1, but I thought it would go to Miesha Tate. I guess she can win round 5 as well, because Miesha Tate was just sort of walking into big blows, and she had blood all over her face. She looked like Covington at the end of the first Usman fight. I mean, Miesha Tate just showed, you know, the high level of MMA and stuff, and, you know, she's in it for the journey, and at least she had fun out there. No one else had fun. No one else had fun. I'm not going to sit here and say that the bare minimum is good enough for a main event. Fair play, they landed over 20 strikes each a round. It's not good enough for me. I will not accept this as a main event anymore. It's like, why 5 rounds? The card was already one of the worst cards I've ever fucking sat through, and we have to sit through that, and that looked good compared to the rest of the card. Compared to the rest of the card, that fight actually didn't even look too bad. That's how bad the fucking card was. My word, 5 fucking rounds. Kelten Vieira gets the decision win. Fair play. She won the fight. She did way more damage. She cut open Miesha Tate. She did damage there. I just don't understand. Are they not hard sparring? What is the difference? I understand they're women, and women just don't have the same biological capabilities that men do in terms of fast twitch muscle fibers. But throw a fucking jab like you've been training for a decade, because you have. You've been training for a decade to be the best fighters in the world. Stop throwing punches like toddlers out there. I'm starting to get really annoyed and this video is going to get disliked. I made a Shevchenko versus Carmouche video and I got fucking bombarded with dislikes. Shevchenko Carmouche 2, they did fucking nothing for 5 rounds and didn't stare at each other. People called Maia versus Shevchenko an interesting matchup and an interesting fight, how it went down. They stared at each other for 5 fucking rounds and clinched against a cage. I'm not playing anymore. This is getting too much. When are we going to start? I think we need to get evidence that they're hard sparring before they're allowed to fight in a main event. Can I get that? Can we please get that? If they're not at women's strawweight, which actually is a good women's division with good, capable female fighters, if they're not at women's strawweight and their name isn't Shevchenko or Nunes or Jermaine Durandamy maybe at a push or Holly Holm, but even then, fuck, I don't want to see Holly Holm for 5 fucking rounds. Out of fucking range like a chihuahua for 5 fucking rounds. Either way, if we're going to have these abominations as main events, can I please just, can we have access to some footage from their training camp of just a 5-second segment of them getting hit hard in sparring? Because Mackenzie Dern said something a year ago when she slightly made improvements in her fight against Verna Jandiroba, and she said in that fight, yeah, I started hard sparring for the first time. Women's strawweight. You cannot tell me these women are being trained like the men. The way Miesha Tate was standing the whole time, the way she was throwing leg kicks, the way she was throwing punches, it's just not correct in any way, and her coaches must be lying to her. That's it. Her coaching staff, the people that hold her pads, the people that do drills with her, the people that work her in the cage and stuff like that and take her around and show her the ropes in the cage and walk her through the fight and stuff like that, must be lying to her. The way she was throwing punches for those 5 rounds, there is no single chance. I bet you the coach smirked as he said, that looks good. I bet you the coach hates Miesha Tate. I bet you he does. Kelten Vieira threw a couple of decent shots, but even Kelten Vieira looked fucking shit. And it's not about the activity. I don't care if a fight is active. If it's an absolute shit show, it's a shit show, and I just can't enjoy it as a fan of MMA. You know what I mean? I just cannot enjoy those kinds of fights. Don't get me started on the rest of this fucking card because it was an absolute fucking shambles from the start. But, man, what is going on in women's MMA? In these bantamweight's been around for ages. It was one of the first divisions. It's been around as long as strawweight has. What's going on outside the top 3? It's Nunes, Jermaine Durandamy, Holly Holm, and that's it in that division. I can't do it anymore, man. Fair play, Kelten Vieira. She won the fight. She's the younger girl. She's got more future. She's lost to less people than Miesha Tate, so it's actually kind of better that she moves on. But in all honesty, it would have been better if Miesha Tate won because she would get a title elimination bout, and then it would be like a bigger fight because she's a bigger name and people find her hot and she has tits. I get it, but like, I can't imagine. If you're a male MMA fighter out there and you're in one of these gyms, like Miesha Tate's gym, do you laugh when you watch the pad work or anything like that? Because it can't be good, right? Like, genuinely this. Genuinely that for 5 fucking rounds. You can't tell me that's the game plan. You can't tell me that's the game plan. The leg kicks, they don't even work in women's MMA. Because they don't turn over their hips. They just fling their limb at their opponent and it just fucking ricochets off the shin. And that's a leg kick in women's MMA. I don't understand the sport anymore, man. It's just so dumb. Like, how are they not improving? It's been a decade. I'm going to say this. Miesha Tate looked more technical against Ronda Rousey. What's going on? Miesha Tate has been fighting, and let's go through this right now. Miesha Tate has been fighting in MMA since 2006. Okay? Miesha Tate, and that's not training, let's add an extra 2 years before that. Miesha Tate has been training in MMA since 2004. Okay? That's 17 years of training. 17 years of training to inflict pain on an opponent has led to this. Like, it's just not good at all. So who's training her? There needs to be some accountability here. Seriously, who the fuck is training Miesha Tate? Let's name and shame. Miesha Tate, coach. Brian Caraway. No, it's fucking not. Oh, it was the one who died. I feel so fucking bad now. It was Robert Follis, for fuck's sake. Oh, fuck you, making me look bad. Not the guy who died, but fuck Google. Fuck. Whoever her coach is now. Fuck off. I can't even find the name of her coach. Someone find the name of her coach. It's actually too much now. And also, she stuck her finger in the clit of Kelten Vieira in the first round, which I thought was the highlight of the fight. Really grabbed a hold of that clit. Really got a good grip of that moose knuckle. Almost got her hand fucking absorbed by Kelten Vieira, of course, at one point. But, yeah, she really put the fucking fingers up there. That was a good moment of the fight. I'd love to sniff them, but, like, it's just fucking annoying. I'm not pretending anymore. I can't sit and watch women's MMA fights and pretend anymore. It's just not good. And I'm surprised the commentary isn't mentioning something like, if that was and I want to mention this at the very end. Why have I waited till the very end to mention this? I've already got the dislikes. If that was two men throwing shots like that, people would ridicule them beyond belief. Beyond belief. If that was, let's name two ranked fighters in any division. No, fuck two ranked fighters. I don't know. Let's rank the equivalent of bantamweight ranked fighters. So, let's look. Where are Miesha Tate and Kelten Vieira ranked? Miesha Tate was ranked number 8, and Kelten Vieira was ranked number 7. Number 7 and 8 in the men's bantamweight division. Where is it? That would be the equivalent of Cody Garbrandt versus Pedro Munoz. They would get humiliated if they threw punches like that for 5 rounds. And you know what that would do, that humiliation? It would make them better. It would make them assess themselves. It would make them realise they're making mistakes and want to improve and get better at what they do. No one criticises them. We sit here and say stunning and brave, and they never fucking improve. If you don't have, in women's MMA nowadays, 100 kickboxing bouts to begin your career, you aren't going to be anything in women's MMA. Especially out... Strawweight's different. Strawweight actually has good, capable women's fighters. Get rid of women's featherweight and make women's atomweight, because I bet you they'd be better there as well. I don't get it anymore. I don't get it anymore. Juliana Pena is a jiu-jitsu phenom in the women's bantamweight division. I know I'm not even focusing on the fight anymore. Juliana Pena is a jiu-jitsu phenom. I'm going to get arthritis from doing this. Juliana Pena is considered, in women's MMA standards, a jiu-jitsu phenom. She's next taking on Nunes. She was submitted in a guillotine choke by the kickboxer Jermaine Durandamir. The jiu-jitsu phenom, the Brian Ortega, the Charles Oliveira of the women's bantamweight division, was submitted by a purist kickboxer by guillotine standing. There needs to be accountability. We need to roast the shit out of the performances more. And it's annoying me beyond belief because they're always the main events. It's like we're being punished. Like, you must accept this and get used to this because this is how it's going to be and you have no say on the topic whatsoever. Stop putting them in main events. If Chiesa Brady was 5 rounds, Chiesa would have finished him in the 4th. Let's be real. He probably would have done. Like, seriously. Why is it always a main event? Why? Vieira versus Tate. Ladd versus Jamon. Dern Rodriguez was good, but as I said, it's the fucking women's strawweight division, so it's different. Why are they always for 5 fucking rounds? This was booked to be another main event recently. It got rescheduled to a different main event. Why is it the main event? No one cares. They don't have followers. They don't have followers to watch their fights. They have followers to catch a foot pick every 10 pictures on Instagram, where they finally show their toes. That's what their followers are there for. They're not to watch the fights. It's pissing me off beyond belief, but I'm saying the fucking truth. My little cousin would run through the women's bantamweight roster other than Nunes, but I don't even mind his chances. I mind his chances more than Juliana Pena. He's 13, 12. Goodbye. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. 2 a.m. again. Another women's main event. Just fucking kill me.